back to the channel. Today I'm actually going to be taking the FD down to the shop. It has been a long time since I've messed with the FD. So what I plan on doing is getting it on the trailer, taking it down to the shop, just moving it over there so I can finish up the turbo manifold. I have the new EFR turbo over here, and really the reason I haven't driven it was because I didn't like the turbo setup that was on it, and I wanted to go with this 9180 EFR just because it will spool faster than the Garrett GT series. It will also be more compact. It has a blow-off valve. I have a full race blow-off valve, and it's all integrated into the turbo. I have 2 tile wastegates. So let's get this thing loaded up and just kind of go from there, and hopefully we can get this turbo manifold kind of buttoned up. I just haven't really wanted to do it because it's been over at my house. I don't have my welder here, and driving back and forth a million times to mock stuff up is kind of a pain. So let's get this down to the shop and just kind of start finishing and finalizing the turbo manifold. Before I put the FD on the trailer, I need to remove the bottom splitter. Today I was finally able to get the FD down to the shop. As you can see, the car is very dusty. I'm gonna clean the car today first thing, and then after I do that, I can't drive this car right now because it doesn't have a turbo manifold on it. I had a GT 3582R, and it just ran out at 480 horsepower. So I have this new EFR turbocharger. It's a 9180. These turbos are very nice. They have a lot of technology in them. Unlike the Garretts, Garretts are just old technology. They've just been around forever, and they really haven't improved much. So the EFR, I really like it. And also I wanted to bottom mount the turbocharger. All the FD turbo manifolds that you get are top mounted. It puts the turbo very high. And the good thing about this car is the low center of gravity. So I want to keep the turbo down low, and then doing that makes the exhaust a lot straighter, and it just makes it flow a lot better, and everything there will be so much nicer, so much cleaner. I won't have this huge downpipe. It'll just pretty much go straight. Another thing is I did design downpipe flanges. I designed a lot of stuff for this turbo project. That's kind of why it took so long, because I had to send it off, have this parts machined. I also had all the flanges so I could back purge the manifold and make a jig after I get this thing designed and where I want it. So I did start making the manifold. If you guys are new to the channel, I do design a lot of my own parts. So I designed both of these flanges. And the reason I did that was because there wasn't any flanges out there that I really wanted to use. I didn't want to pay $400 for a flange that really didn't have what these had. So I do have some of these for sale. I really don't expect to sell them, but I might make some turbo manifolds in the end and then just sell those. But the transition in here is nice and smooth. I did a lot of R&D on it so I can get these flanges nice and ready to flow. So I don't have any issues with welding and then having to grind it down. I should just be able to weld all this stuff together, be 100% good to go. And when I weld it, I'll back purge it so everything will be nice and smooth. So let's get to work on this. Pull the FC out and then pull the FD out, or push the FD out and then wash her, go from there, push her back in, and then get to work on the turbo setup. Just finished cleaning the FD, and the engines in these without a turbo manifold on it look so small. So this is a fully built 13B. It's 3mm apex seals. It's studded. It has dowels. It pretty much is ready for 600 horsepower. So I just need to do the exhaust manifold, make sure the turbo is going to clear. It's not going to be too close to the steering rack or anything like that. I also designed these and produced them. I just never actually sold any of them. I just have a box of them. But yeah, let's get to work on that and get this turbo manifold all busted out. Bolted the manifold to the engine and the turbo to the manifold just to make sure it was in the correct position. I remember going back and forth, but I just wanted to verify that everything was going to fit before I finalized the welding. So what I'm going to have to do on this manifold, because some of the runners run really close to the other runners, is I'm going to have to actually weld this whole runner right there. Then I could run the other runner, which is already prefabbed. I did that quite a while ago as well. And then I could weld that and then weld it to both flanges and we'll be good to go. So this thing will be 100% ready to go. And then I just need to figure out where I'm going to put the tile wastegates, which I was actually thinking about running the tile wastegates from the reducer. So this is 2 inch to 1.5 inches, I believe. I'd have to look. I think it's 1.5 inches. But yeah, it just makes sense to have the wastegate right here and a wastegate right there, and then them both dump into the exhaust later on, because I need to make titanium flanges for them as well. That's going to wrap this episode of the FD video up, and I'm really excited that the turbo manifold is in its first infant stages, I'm going to have to say, but I really do like where the turbo sits on this thing. I didn't want the turbo to be top mounted. A lot of FD, actually I think every FD turbo manifold is a top mount manifold, which to me makes absolutely no sense. The one issue I do have with this manifold, I didn't think that this runner right here was gonna sit so close to the intake manifold. I probably should have looked it over a few more times before finalizing all the welding. But that being said, I'm gonna make a jig tomorrow because where the turbo sits is perfect, and then I'll just rerun all the runners. I want these runners to actually run pretty far out over here. I'll probably run this runner to this side, then this runner to the back side, which this is a divided T4 flange that I designed in SolidWorks and then produced. Same thing goes with the bottom flange that goes on the engine. It's another flange, and all the transitions are very nice. The inside is very smooth. There isn't any gaps. It's just something that I wanted to do. I didn't like the flanges that were out there. I didn't like my eBay turbo manifold that came with the car, and etc. So I wanted to upgrade to this BorgWarner EFR. The old eBay turbo manifold, the bolt holes were actually not correct, so the turbo wouldn't bolt on. Instead of drilling out one of the holes so it fit, I just designed those flanges, and then it's been this big long process of designing this turbo manifold. So tomorrow the plan is I'm going to make a jig from this turbo manifold because I do like where the turbo sits. It sits exactly where I want it. And then I'm gonna run those runners out in different, just run them a little bit wider, and then I could tack them all together, locate the tile wastegates. I'm running 238 mils on this thing, and replace this with the full raised blow-off valve that I already had on it. I was gonna do an electronic blow-off valve, but for now I'm just gonna do that and get this thing 100% back and ready to go. I also ordered all this stuff to do the exhaust. It was like $800-900. It's all 4-inch titanium, and then I could get the exhaust done. I'm not going to weld it. I don't know how to weld titanium. I'm probably not even going to weld the other manifold. I mean, some of my welds on this came out pretty decent, but some of them, I mean, they're less than desirable. So I'm not a professional welder. I can get some, beads going and dimes and whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, that's not what I do for a living, and I just kind of learn as I go. The more I weld, the more I learn. But I want the manifold that's on this car to be really nice, and then the other 9 that I produce that I'm going to end up selling, I want those to be nice as well. This one I'll probably end up just selling for pretty cheap, pretty much for what the exhaust flanges cost me, which is, I think it's like $400, $450. Once the other manifolds are done, I'll probably sell them for like around $900 or so, because they'll be really nice. I'll have somebody that professionally welds them and stuff like that. So going from here, tomorrow we're going to redesign this manifold, but not relocate the turbocharger. I really like the location. And then once the titanium stuff comes, we can do the exhaust. I have a titanium muffler coming. I have that titanium flange for the turbocharger because I didn't like how the the BorgWarner flange, exhaust flange to the V-band actually had this weird little lip, and it looked like it was going to just restrict a lot of flow. So I went from the 3-inch or 3.5 or whatever it is out to 4-inch. Then it goes to 0.039 wall titanium tube. This manifold is actually lighter than the eBay manifold, and that's kind of weird because the flanges are 1/2 inch thick, the intake or the T4 divided, and the exhaust flange on the engine. So I mean, it's just kind of crazy that the China manifold was heavier. It was, you know, not as well of, it wasn't as good of a design, and you know, it just goes to show you, this is stuff I like to do. I love engineering stuff. I like designing stuff, but at the end of the day, it takes a long time to do, and a long time, you know, a long turnaround time to get parts machined and designed and back. And then, you know, it's been almost a year since I've driven this car because I wanted to do this turbo kit. So that being said, I'm going to end the video here. If you guys like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, share it with your friends, throw a comment below. As always, see you guys next time.